Hi, Sean Durham here. Just a quick update about this channel and what I've been doing. It is all about street photography, but really it's about photography. It's what I do. I live in Berlin and I find it a fantastic, fascinating, wonderful city that is always changing and changing, but never finding its own identity. And one of the things that has occurred to me over a long period of time is that even though I like to do street photography, which I would also call, you know, my type of photography, it could be urban photography, city, landscape. I'm a photographer and I love the image. And so that's what I do. But also it's very important to put things into context and to be able to basically understand something about what it is I'm looking at when I take a photo. I love architecture. I'm getting more and more into it. The history of the city is very fascinating, so I read a lot about it. And then another thing I do read about, which I recommend to all street photographers who are dead serious about what they do, and that is to read a few really good books about living in cities. And there are some, and one of them I can recommend is Places of the Heart. That is a fantastic book written by Colin Ellard. And that's this book here, which is just fantastic. The other one is called Headspace, which is this book here, and it's written by Dr. Paul Kidwell. And both of these books are just an example of really very interesting books about the places where we live and the sort of effect the environment where we live has on us. And just reading that, it makes you realize what's happening when you're out there doing street photography and the way that you move around the city. It's just one aspect of why do we find it so fascinating to grab a camera and go out and take photos of the place where we live? Because we live beyond the borders of our own little apartments or our homes and houses. We actually want to make use of the city, to utilize it and find out what's going on out there and how we as a human being or an individual can interact with the world around us. And that's why I find that these type of books give you a lot of insight and a lot of thought, ideas. Food for thought is the word I was looking for, expression, about how to interact with the world around you or why we do something. There are other books. There's another one called Wayfinding by a guy called Bond is the writer, and it's so fascinating, a bit tough to read in places, but just reading a few pages makes you think it's amazing how that we know through psychology and studies that we have the ability to navigate, and in order to do that, we build up maps of our environment by walking around and understanding things. And understanding things for me is understanding the environment of Berlin through its history, through its streets, through the changes that happen. Berlin is a place that is always changing, it's chopping and changing. And as they say, Berlin is always seeking to find itself, but it never does find itself. It's always evolving, always changing, always striving towards some great gem of a city. But it never gets there. It's always chopping and changing. And if you think about the amazing and quite traumatic experiences that the city itself has been through World War, through poverty, through the problems of Second World War and the 1930s, etc. And if you look through the history of it, it's just always got new ideas about how to build itself and how to develop itself. But it never actually gets there. It's always chopping and changing. Right now, the city, you know, some people would say, well, it's a place for startups or something like that. But yet, maybe not. A lot of people have come here over the years and have attempted to actually do a startup, believing it's an easy place to get property, to get loans, to get money, financing, etc., and discovered, no, it's not. You still are all on your own, and you've got to pay through the nose for property these days. The prices of property are going up. We've had the property dealers in now for quite some years, and they've been tearing the place apart with banging up prices to the point where it becomes untenable for the average person to actually maintain a basic apartment. It's very tough. But knowing all these things, all these little things, you might think, you know, what the hell has that got to do with photography, and especially street photography? But when you're out on the street there and you're moving about, you're looking at buildings, you're going down streets. And if you know something about the history of your own town or city, then really your heart is going to be more open to what you see, and you're going to understand the context of where you are. Every city that is developed and has been over the hundreds of years that it's existed will always have different areas that traditionally maybe are working class areas, and traditionally another part might be upper middle class or middle class. And there's always an area in every city, like Berlin too, where it's been sort of an area that is especially for people who are mega rich and you couldn't afford a house there if you wanted to. And the truth is, in Berlin, it used to be Alt Tegel, Old Tegel. Today, I don't really know where it is because I'm not very interested in their homes and houses. But when I went up to it once and took a look around the streets of where apparently, you have to spend several million on a house to live there, I looked around and I thought, yeah, all they've done is isolated themselves. That's what money does to people sometimes, is they think I can isolate myself and I don't have to be a part of the riffraff of society. In other words, not a member of society and not a part of it. But as a street photographer, I'm out there and I really want to feel it. And this is what we want to do. When we're on the street, we want to be able to feel it and get the buzz and understand, wow, this city is so old and ancient and it's got so much in it and there's so many spirits of the past all around me. Boy, does that do a lot for your brain. It makes you feel like you are somewhere special. And if you feel that way, you are going to have a much more open and positive view towards all the objects and all the people that you see before your camera lens, and you're going to take fantastic photos. Or if you find you can't take fantastic photos, you're going to find out how to take fantastic photos by studying a little bit more about your camera, the lens, and especially the light around you. Every day on the street, the light is different. And that's one of the wonderful things about street photography. So that sort of thing is what I want to bring into this channel, is a bit more of the history of Berlin. If I visit another city, I've got plans to go to Spain, to Poland, etc. Take a few shots down there, come back with ideas, a little smattering of history and why these streets exist. The history of the people, of course, is very important. And that means various figures throughout history. Berlin is full of all types of wild stories about different residents and famous people and infamous people. And of course, the great statespeople of Berlin and Germany. Maybe all of that, it could be interesting. But believe you me, as soon as you start reading about the city that you photograph and you get behind the idea about why things were built and what went wrong, or why does this building look so bloody ugly, that type of thing. And then, in Berlin, you can walk around and you see old water towers and old factories that are being used for different, purposes these days. Red brick. Ah, man, that's fantastic. That's a sort of small update about what's happening on my channel and in my life. And so I'll be getting out in the streets. I decided it's about time I got myself one of those DJI Osmo Pro cameras that I can carry around with me and speak into it while I walk around the streets. So I hope to do a bit of that. Feeling a bit sort of intimidated by the idea of being this middle-aged man standing alone in a street talking to himself, but we'll see how it goes. I think it's important to get the context. Okay, so that's the video today. I really hope you enjoy the weekend. I really hope you enjoy these updates and new videos coming up. In order to find out what's coming up next, the best thing to do for you is to subscribe. If you subscribe to my channel, don't forget, if you don't like it, you can always unsubscribe. But it'd be lovely if you did subscribe. Okay, you have a fantastic weekend. See you next time I make a video. Bye-bye. I'm Sean Durham.